Alright, so you're not here to learn about accessibility, you're in the wrong room, so hopefully everyone stays. Right. Today I'm going to be talking about accessibility on Android. I usually work on the web, but I kind of wanted to challenge myself and to figure out what you need to do on a mobile platform as well. And what I figured out was
it's pretty much the same as on the web, it's just got different names. And although I focus on Android, most of this can be used on iOS as well, or at least the concepts. So a little bit about myself. My name is Vegard. I'm a lead technologist at Itera. I call myself a full stacker who prefers to be on the front end. I would like to work with the UI and to provide good user experience. And of course, I have a focus on accessibility. So yeah, that's my focus. You might have seen me yesterday with my son, Alan. He's 8 months old and is now with his grandma, so I can be here. All right, so why accessibility? A lot of people don't think about this, but research shows that 1 in 5 will have some form of disability during their lifetime. That can be the things we think about, like blindness or deafness and so on, but it can also be like you break your hand, or when you get older, you have motor impairment, like your hands shake. And most of us, our sight will become less and lesser as we get older as well. So all of that ensures that a large amount of the population does have some form of disability at a current time. And that's why we need to really pay attention to this. It's not for just a small specific group. Accessibility helps all users, and at some point it will help you as well. Or in addition, if you implement for accessibility, you increase the app's reach. You get your customer group will get larger, so you can earn more money for yourself or for your client. It makes the app more versatile. For example, a lot of modern technology, like you can use your phone in a car or with voice control. A lot of that is supported by assistive technology. So yeah, and finally, if you really need a stick instead of the carrot, it's mandatory in Norway by law, and you will get fined if you don't follow the law. So hopefully you have enough reasons to pay attention to this without that. All right, so on Android, we have several different services and features that enable people who need assistive technology. I have some of the icons here. On top at the left is the TalkBack, which is a screen reader that is built in on Android. In addition to reading out the text aloud, it also gives you feedback like vibration and other methods to help you navigate the site. Brailleback, which is on the right there, that can be used together with TalkBack to enable the user to use a Braille list or Braille keyboard, or whatever you call it, to read the text. So instead of using voice, they can get feedback that they can read with the hands. Switch access is, as far as I could tell, it's pretty new on Android. You have had that on iOS for a while, but on Android, they talked a lot about at Google I/O now recently. So it helps you use a switch or a keyboard to navigate your phone, which helps a lot of users with motor impairment. For example, they can't use the touch screen because their hands shake, or they just can't move the hands properly. So using a switch, which could be, for example, like a keyboard with two keys that helps you go back and forth, and that helps them navigate your site. And finally, voice access, which I would say is just a feature for everyone, not just an accessibility feature, enables you to control your phone with voice. For example, you can use Bixby on Samsung to open an app or write text or click a button. All right, so during this talk, I'll be going through some techniques that you can use on Android. Now, this is lightning talk, so of course I'll only be covering a small part. There's a lot more to do, and you can go to developer.android.com afterwards to read more. But these are some of the features I thought was important to mention. So first, labels. Components that have visual text will have a text that is read out with assistive technology as well. But some components, like an image button, for example, you don't have a natural text that can be read out loud, so you need to add that. So if you see on the second line from the bottom, the content description, you can add text. This could be thought of as the same as the alt text in HTML, which can be used for images and other components. So for static components, this is a good way to go. But for dynamic components, for example, a play button that changes to a pause button when a video is running, that changes. So you need to set the text dynamically, and you can do that from your code. All right. As well, to make it easier to navigate, a user with assistive technology will, for example, swipe between components on your site. So if they swipe right or left, they can jump from one focusable element to the next. So if you group the content, for example, you have a list with several text views. If you group them, then once you switch to that element, you get all of those texts read out loud instead of having the user swipe to each one. If you do that, they can navigate the site a lot quicker, and they can scan the page at a much higher speed. For smaller, simpler groups, you can collect all of it in one element, but on many pages, that would not be reasonable. Right, touch area. So when using touch, of course, fingers are different sizes, and people with motor skills who have their hands shaking can't be as accurate as other people touching, for example, a button. So you need to have a large enough space that they can touch. The default requirement here is that you use at minimum 48 dpi's for the touch area. And touch area is defined as this component itself, like for example the button, and the padding you add around it. So it doesn't have to be just a visual area, but if you add a padding around it, for example, if you have a small icon, but you add a padding around it, that whole thing is the touch area. So that needs to be 48 by 48 dpi's. And you should also add a margin around it to prevent users from clicking two elements at once or clicking the wrong element. So if you add at least 8 dpi's between elements, that will prevent that sort of errors. I'm colorblind, or red-green color deficient, as they say, which means I have trouble separating red from green. And you also have people that are completely colorblind that only see gray, but of course those are a small amount of people. So if you have elements that only depend on color, you're going to eliminate a lot of people. You can see this, for example, in a lot of Scrum boards that mark completed tasks with red or yellow or green. And people sit there and they have no idea how far along you've come. So what you should do is you should have several ways of defining what the element is. So you can add an icon or preferably a text. For example, if you have a hamburger menu, you can add the text menu next to the hamburger icon. And if all of that is click area, it also increases the touch area, but it helps the user figure out what the element is, even if they can't see a color and so on. Right, so I've pretty much run out. So for testing, you should do some automated tests, but you should also do manual testing. So from the accessibility settings, you can enable, for example, talkback and try to navigate your own app. That will help you find the most common errors, but you should also consider actually hiring or getting people to come in to test who are disabled, because those are the users who are familiar with these tools, and they will find problems that you can't find, and also avoid problems that you will face. Now, this went quickly, so if you have questions, as they mentioned, send them on a Slack channel. We'll have a Q&A afterwards, and if you can't get the answers there, contact me on Twitter or during lunch. So, thanks.